Good afternoon and welcome to the Knattersknits podcast. This is episode number 3, and for those of you who've come back to see me another time, thank you very much indeed. And for those of you who are new to all of this, thank you for checking me out, and I hope that you enjoy it and will come back again in the future. My name's Natalie. I live in Lancashire in the north of England, and I have been a knitter for a long time and a spinner for the last 3 or 4 years. I do this mainly as a hobby, but I also operate as Knattersknits, where I sell my hand-spun and some of the yarn that I've dyed, and occasionally the odd knitted item as well. I have a shop on Etsy, and that's Knattersknits. You'll get fed up with the word Knattersknits by the time I've finished, I promise. I also have a Facebook page for Knattersknits. I'm on Ravelry, and I have my own Ravelry group there, so please do pop in and say hi if you want to. Right, so let's get on with it instead of all the boring admin-y bits, shall we? My usual schedule for recording is at the moment on a Sunday or Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and it is today now Sunday afternoon. It's a bit overcast and quite chilly outside. The light's coming in from this side, as you can see from here, and it's just turning into autumn here, so I'm feeling a little cold. It won't be so bad, I think, in the future, because I will start wearing cardigans, but it's just that in-betweeny sort of weather where you're warm in the house and you're not sure what to wear outside, which gives me a bit of a dilemma for this evening, because my son's taking me to my first ever ice hockey match, and that's going to be in Blackburn, so that's going to be fun, I think. I'm not really sure what to expect, except that I think I'm going to be quite cold, so I'm going to wrap up a bit. So that's what I'm going to be doing after I've done this podcast. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is talk a little bit about Periscope, for those of you who haven't seen Periscope before. Talk about some of my knitting projects, some of my spinning, talk about the freebie that I'm going to give out that I put a draw up for last week, and that is a skein of Knattersknits hand-spun yarn, which is there. Don't know how easily you can see that. Okay. And I thought I'd do a little tutorial at the end on how to use a niddy-noddy. A lot of you have seen yarn perhaps in skeins like this and wondered how on earth you do it. So I thought if I did a little tutorial, it might be quite useful for those of you who are interested. So that's that one. Okay, so Periscope. Periscope is a new app that allows people who've got a Twitter account to post short video clips of whatever they want that remain there for about 48 hours, I think. Some are very short, very silly, very random, very boring, and some of them are really quite interesting, and I have watched a couple of knitting related ones over the weekend. One was a lady asking some advice, and that's what my Periscope will be about, but it won't actually be on what she was asking about because she's doing a bangle. Mine's more to do with the project that I'm actually actively involved in the moment. And I've seen some really random ones that I'm thinking, why am I wasting my time watching these? I think once it becomes more widely used, it will be really quite interesting place where you can just go and look at things for snippets. And for those of you like me who've got quite a short attention span, then that I think it's quite a useful tool. Okay, so my knitting. Hasn't been a lot of it this week. There's been a little bit of spinning, but not so much on the knitting front. I've been quite busy at work. We've had quite a few people off sick. There's a tummy bug going around at the moment, so it's meant working longer hours to try and get things done, and helping out the other teams in the home that I work in. So I shall be glad when everybody's better and we're back to normal again. But what I have done so far is on my sock. You may remember I'd started knitting this sock. It's out of Sarah's Texture Crafts yarn. It's called, the colourway is Abalone, and it's a 4-ply. And as you can see, I'm just on the bit where you just go round and round and round till you get to the right length and then start decreasing for the toe and casting off. I've never done toe-up socks. I'd love to know what you think about toe-up socks. I'm thinking of trying them out just to see what they're like. All the socks I've ever knit have been top down, and that's been okay actually. I haven't had a problem with that at all. So that's this one. This is the first sock. And the reason I did it is because I'm running out of hand knit socks and I really do love them. They're so much warmer and more comfortable than the shop bought ones. They also soak sweat up a lot better, which is perhaps not a ladylike thing to say, but it is very, very true, and I do love them. So that's my abalone socks. Knit on, unusually for me, 2mm needles, and these are carbons. I didn't think I'd ever like carbons needles. Don't know if you can just see the tip there is silver material, silver coloured, and then carbon in the middle. I find them really, really useful because I get quite bad arthritis, sort of rheumatic-y type pains in my hands, and they do seem to cut down on that, so they're really, really comfy. They're a bit more expensive, but I think to be pain-free is definitely worth it. So that's them. And the other thing I've been knitting on is my bedspread. I think I mentioned this last week. It's made out of this pom-pom print by Rico. There's 200 grams in a ball, it's about 100 metres. It was very popular a few years ago as scarves, and being the idiot that I am, I decided to make a bedspread out of it. I think I showed you it all last time. Here's the piece I'm working on at the moment. It makes it extremely heavy, but I love all the colours in here because we've got blues and greens and mustards and purples, and snuggling up you can probably see it really is quite cosy, so it's going to be great on the double bed. But I'm going to put out the periscope later because my issue is how I actually join them together, because it's so heavy. I didn't make it as one whopping great big bedspread. What I did was do it in panels, so you can just about see one side there and one side there, and I'm going to have 5 or 6 of these panels when I'm finished. So my question to you all really is, how do you think is the best way to go about joining them? Should I use another yarn and just sew them together? Should I just, because if you see here, I don't know if you can see very well, there are like little loops all the way along. So I was just thinking about joining them together and doing like a, not using plastic, but using the cable tie idea of just tying them in places all the way down. Or just using the traditional blanket stitch. I'd love to hear what you've got to say, so do please let me know what you think about that. Right, so that's that one. Now, spinning. I've been spinning the fibre that we're doing for our local guild project. I think I mentioned this last time. We've been given 3 lots of different fibre. 1 is Wensleydale curls, and 2 are crosses from different sheep. And the challenge is to make something interesting and sort of unique to yourself using this. Well, the only thing I could think to do with locks is to make like Dread's hair. So I thought, right, well in that case I will dye some of those, and I will dye the wool once I've spun it, and I will knit a doll with a little outfit and having this massive hair. So I've done, I've spun one type of wool altogether, that's the Dorset horn, that's all done. The wool I'm going to use for part of it is in this bag. Yeah, this is the Dorset horn, and that's what it's come out like. Now this was quite dry and it was very well prepared before I got it, so I haven't washed it or done anything with it yet at all. I will give it a bath, and then once I've cleaned it I'm going to dye it. And as this is the thicker of the 2 yarns, I think I'm going to use this one for an outfit for said doll. And the other one is a Cheviot cross. And I'll show you that when I come to do the niddy noddy, because that's the wool I'm actually going to be winding onto the niddy noddy today. So the other thing I wanted to announce today was the winner of the contest for naming the pattern that I'm just about to release, and it's a cowl. excuse me while I reach over. It's this one that I showed you last time. It's a variegated sort of rosy colour and white, and it goes on like this, so you can wear it as a hat, as a massive cowl, which perhaps I ought to wear it to the to the skating tonight, and also you can wear it as a shawl, and then have it like that. So it's usually people on podcasts do random number generators, and they do the drawing that way. I haven't needed to because I've only had one person enter, so that person is going to win. So the winner of the Name the Cowl competition, this cowl is now called the Rose Blossom Cowl. I will be changing the name on the pattern to reflect that, and then I will put it up on Ravelry, and it will be free. I'm not going to take any money for this at all. So the pattern will be going up on Ravelry hopefully in the next 24 hours, and that's the Rose Blossom Cowl. So I can just imagine now, over in Langley in British Columbia, there's a lady called Marnie who's probably jumping up and down getting really excited because, yes, crazy about knitting. Marnie, it's you. You've won. So what I'd like you to do is to send me a private message on Ravelry, and this I will put in the post to you, and it'll be going all the way to British Columbia. I hope you don't mind hand-spun yarn, but it is English, so it'll be something slightly different from what you're used to. So there you go. It's jade green, it's 100% wool, it's Corriedale, dyed by me as well, and that is the Knattersknits jade green. There we go. So congratulations to Marnie, really pleased, and do add me as a friend on Ravelry as well, not just Marnie but anybody who's watching. I'd love to hear from you all, love to know what you're knitting, what you're up to, so please keep in touch, and come and join me on the Ravelry board as well, and we can have a good old chat and see what's going on. It's a bit quiet over there at the moment, and I'd love to learn a little bit more about you, what you like, what you don't like, how you learn to knit, excuse me, all those sorts of things. So do come and join me. Right, again, congratulations to Marnie, and that's on its way to you as soon as you send me your address. Right, so the final thing I promised I would do today is to show you how to use a niddy noddy. And excuse me while I just push this back a little bit so you can see a bit more. This is a niddy noddy. Basically, it's a piece of wood that has got something on either end, like an H shape, except it's not a standard H. As you heard, one end is twisted, so they're actually lying in opposite directions. So if I stand that up, that comes end on. Hopefully you can get the idea. Now this one is made by Ashford, the people that make all the spinning wheels, but you can get all sorts of different ones, and you don't have to use an Ashford, although I use mine because I love it. You can use handmade ones, wood turners make them. I believe most of the spinning wheel companies make them as well. I like this one because it's a standard size, and I know that once I've finished one whole round is 1.45 metres, which helps me work a little bit out about how much I've actually spun. But you can't just use that as a plain measurement, which is a bit of a pain, because you're going to have, there'll be differences when it's washed again. If you put too much tension on it, it alters the yardage. So one of the best places I've ever learned about calculating yardage is from a lady called Hilltop Cloud, and on her website, just Google her, Hilltop Cloud comes up, and she's an amazing dyer and prepper of fibre. Her prep is fantastic. Between her and Sarah's Texture Crafts, to be honest, there's not a lot of difference. I find them both absolutely phenomenal. So Hilltop Cloud, go and have a look on her website, because there's a little bit of an explanation there about how to work out your yardage once you've spun, and I find that really helpful. So get your nitty noddy, and I always use mine with the top here just because it helps me get into the usual pattern, but you don't have to, you can start anywhere. And you just wrap this around. So we're wrapping it a few times. Then you go down, up, down and up, so you've made one whole turn. So one there. And then the same again. As you can probably see with this yarn, I'm just trying to get into a nice orderly fashion with it. I'm just going basically around and around. This yarn is the other one from our challenge that I started doing. It's pretty much spun in the grease, which was okay, but the yarn is very bitty, and as you can see by the bobbles, it shows up very nicely in that light there how bitty it is here. It's not smooth and sleek at all. So depending on what this washes up like, it's meant to be the main body of the doll once it's finished. Mainly because the yarn that I've got out of it is a little finer than the other. The other one's more of a DK weight, but at the moment, prior to washing, this could be a 4-ply, hopefully. So I'm just going up, round the bottom one, round the top one, round the bottom one, round the top one. And the clicking and clacking you can hear is I've got my bobbin on the lazy Kate that's part of my spinning wheel. So I'm just going down and up and down and up and down. I'm just following in an anti-clockwise direction the whole time. Nearly there now. Nearly there. There we go. Right, so at this point you undo it, and you wish you hadn't done that because it's hurt your hands. Now you have an end left here. My preference is to actually use this and wind it in, but some people don't like that, so some people will go and get a spare piece of thread and just tie loops around each of these strands. There's 4 here, so each one of these, because if you're going to do that, it means that if you're going to wash it or dye it, the yarn's not going to become very, very tangled. That's probably one of my biggest mistakes when I first started, was not putting extra loops around. And although it might seem as if you're going an awful lot quicker, come the end you're not, because you end up with this tangled mess of yarn bath that you end up having to sit for hours and undo. So it's a good idea not to do that. So we'll just slip this off the top here. You see I'm just taking it off. It's quite tight though, because my tension's quite tight. And there's the extra thread. And then it's just going to fall off the other one. And woohoo! Fortunately for me, there's no extra twist in that. I don't know if you can see that, but that yarn is beautifully balanced. Hooray! It's really, really good. I like it when that happens. And the more I spin, the better it gets, actually. So that's that. So I've now put the loop in the top one as well, so I've now got 2. And I'm just going to twist this, just using a finger like this, and this one, until it's quite tight. And then I divide it in 2 and put one through the other, like that. Okay, now that then twists like that, and you have your hank, which, as you can see, the quality's not brilliant on the spinning yet. It'll be better once it's washed, so that's what it's going to do next. So that's using a niddy noddy. It's spinning in the grease and I really don't like it, so that's that. I hope that was useful and informative for you. If there's anything else you'd like to see as a little tutorial at the end of each one, please do let me know. I know one of my watchers so far has suggested that I do a dyeing one, and I think, in fact, because that is such a complicated thing, I might actually do that in separate sessions, maybe part 1, part 2, part 3, whatever. So I'm thinking about that one at the moment and planning that out. I hope you have a great week. This week is going to be manic for me because, as well as work, I've got all the preparation because next weekend it's yarn down. So hopefully I'll be able to do some actual, maybe a periscope from Yarndale, but if not a periscope, then I will take some stills and maybe some small video clips that I could actually put into my broadcast next week. Because of Yarndale, it will be later. It probably will be Monday or Tuesday before it goes up, because I won't finish packing away till 6-7 o'clock at night. And by the time I get home, I'm sorry, but there's just no way that I'll have the energy to record as well. I hope you have a lovely week. Thank you very much for taking the time to spend with me, and I shall see you very, very soon. Take care now. Bye.